Radu Tapus, Product Manager, UiPath.
Namaste and Namaskara. So I'm for the first time in India. I had a great week. Everyone was really happy to help me. Everyone was really friendly, and I want to thank you for this. I also had some adventures with crossing the road and stuff like this, but we all look natural for it. So yeah. So let's start. I will show you our plan for 2019, and of course it's the plan right now. It may change, so don't take it as a promise, take it as a friendly discussion around this. So we will see first some highlights from 2018, from the second half of the year, then the plan for 2019, and in between some few demos, sketches, and wireframes that we are working on. So 2018 was a great year for us, product-wise. So we had one of the biggest releases, and moreover, we launched an LTS version that allows you to move on with the latest product and stay for 2 years. So what was great in 2018 was validation station. Param also showed you this. So moreover, you should come to the intelligent OCR session. You'll see how you can bring some structure into your PDFs or receipts or all documents with the validation station. So there is more than just validation to it. Then for reusable components, yeah, I know that Param presented this too. We'll have some new stuff as well. So. For reusable components, we added you the possibility to create your own libraries, your own activities, starting from the workflow. So it's much easier for you to share the code and share the stuff you reuse daily. And then with the input and output parameters, we took the first step in allowing process chaining in UiPath. Because right now, before this, any process from UiPath process didn't have a specific output. You could add a job queue, queue item, sorry, or you could add leave some marks somewhere in an Excel or somewhere else. But now you can have an actual output from the process and also an input. I think the most requested feature by the RPA devs and maybe the most voted on the forum was the dark theme. And for example, when my colleague Mircea announced it, everyone went crazy, and some guy said, okay, only for this I will name my first child Mircea. So it was really impactful. You wouldn't say, but it was. So until 18.4, until December, when you would do a Citrix automation, you would have to use image automation and OCR and stuff like this that weren't that fast and that reliable. So from now on, you can add for your Zen apps the UiPath runtime, and you'll be able to automate Citrix with fully fledged selectors, exactly like you do on Windows, you do on Citrix. Yeah. We can do this in order to just wake up a little bit from the lunch, and it will be very helpful for us. So just clap whenever you like a feature. But don't abuse it, only 3 per person. So, yeah. So with the floating robots, so before floating robots, a robot was the bonding between a user and a machine. And that means if I want to move from my PC to another, I would have to create a new robot or modify the new one. But not anymore. For attended usage, for example, we bound the robot only to the user. So when a user would move from one PC to another, he would have his own robot with his own settings and his own processes. So moreover, we did also this for developers, for development, and you'll be able to move around PCs and use your robot, and also have the studio licensed via your robot, via your orchestrator. So you'll not have to get a license key, add it, and just delete them, and so all of these things. It will be just licensed. So going further with 2019, So we plan to improve our debugging capabilities, and one of the first things will be the execution streaming. So when a job fails or a queue item fails, you'll be able to go to Orchestrator, get a recording of the last 20 or 30 seconds of what the robot did, so something like a CCTV of that machine, and just figure out what happened. So you can have the whole context when debugging for this. So, well, especially when you do UI automation, if you want to tweak a selector, you then have to, in one activity, you then just have to comment other activities or set it as a start node or move it in other workflow just to test it. Now you'll be able to do this just with one click. So just run this activity and you'll see if it gets what you want or it doesn't. With libraries and with the libraries, we also added the dependency rules. So when you add a dependency, you can set it as strict. So if, for example, if I'm using Excel 1, 2, 3 and set it as strict, it will work only with Excel 1, 2, 3. But also we had the lowest applicable version. That means if it doesn't find Excel 1, 2, 3, it will search for the closest version higher than this one. So this is very nice. It allows you to do many things, but it's not complete. So we plan on adding all the dependency rules, like the highest version of the package or the highest minor or the highest patch. So for example, if we release a new patch for UI automation and you have the minor patch rule set in place, you'll not have to manually update all your processes to use it. So you'll get the bug fix without updating your processes. Next, in terms of libraries, so right now, if you build a library, you're using it, and you find a problem, you have to open another studio, move to that library, debug it there in an isolated environment, and just come back then to the project. So this is kind of cumbersome. So we plan to add the debugging libraries capability inside the project. So you'll be able to debug the library in the project right where you use it, when you use it. The next one, we plan on adding new breakpoints, like conditional breakpoints and trace points. I wouldn't go too much on this. And in this moment, you can only debug processes that are started from Studio. So you cannot debug a process that was started from Orchestrator, from Robot, or from console command line. So we plan to allow you to do this and even remote. So you'll be able, if you see that a robot is not doing what you are expected to do, you can just connect to it and get the state, get the variables, get the activity it's on, and see what the problem is. So when I'm sure that you know this, so when you have like 20 projects and UiPath decides to have a new version of the UI automation or something, you have to go through each of them, just open the studio, open the package manager, find the activity package, update it, then save, publish, go into Orchestrator, update in Orchestrator. So there are a lot of steps, and you do this for every process. So you do this 20 times. So we planned on having a must upgrade tool, and I will just show you some wireframes and a short video on it. So you'd have the tool inside Studio. You'll just open it. You'll create a new must update. And then you can choose what feeds to use for activities, for example, official and Orchestrator maybe. You just choose your activity package or packages. So let's say you want Excel 1.2.4. And then you provide a folder or a repository for where the projects are. So let's say C projects. And you'll choose the projects that you want to be updated. Then you get a nice review where you can see for each dependency what projects influences, and for each project how many dependencies were updated. you can commit it to your source control. And then, of course, you can publish it. You can add a nice message and publish it. So this will be done in just one step or just one iteration. You won't have to do it every time for every project. So in order to offer you a way to fasten your development, so we plan on offering Git support. I know that you want this, come on. This is the safe one. So we plan on adding the Git support and also uniformization for the source control mechanism. So if you either use Git or SVN or TFS, you'll have the same experience in Studio. Then I was a developer as well, so I hate it when I had to type something on my keyboard and then just move to the mouse and just move back to the keyboard. And if you do this for like 50 times in an hour, you'll lose a lot of time. So we plan to improve the shortcut keyboards and having everything from Studio as shortcuts, as keyboard shortcuts. So right now in UiPath, so when you try to send data or pass data from one process to another or from workflow to another, every data is dynamic, and that's a good thing. But sometimes you need something more formalized, more standardized. So if I have a invoice processing process, I want to be sure that the data I'm getting are invoices and so that I can rely on that invoices. So that's why we are bringing business objects. So it's a way for you to define some types, something like .NET types that you can use across your projects and processes. And right now, if you want to go with an API automation, so what you have to do is for every action, get a HTTP request, write the URL, write the request body. If it's JSON, you will forget a semicolon somewhere, so it always happens, and then just make the call. But we plan on changing this, so we want to offer you a wizard or a tool where you can easily drop VSDL or Swagger, web service description, and it will generate activities based on this. So you'll have activities for each method in that API. So I think after the dark theme, the next most requested feature was the C# support, and we plan in 2019 to offer, yeah, I know. We plan to offer you the ability to do everything you can do in VB.NET into C# this year. So building a regular expression can be more of a trial and error. So you would write it, you would test it, you would see that you forgot an edge case, and then you have to tweak it a little bit. So we plan on offering you a wizard in Studio where we can do exactly this. So you'll be able to write the regular expression, test it like you would do in, I don't know, in popular regex tools, online tools like regex 101 and stuff like this. So when working with Orchestrator resources like queues, assets, credentials, you have to have an Orchestrator instance open. You have to know exactly the name of that resource. So what we plan to do is adding a new panel that will display all your resources from Orchestrator, so assets, queues, processes, and so on. And you can easily drag and drop from that panel into the workflow designer and create activities with it. So let's say you need an SAP credential. So you just drag and drop that credential into the workflow designer. It will ask, what do you want to do with this credential? Do you want to get it or set it? I want to get it. And it will create a get credential activity right there. So you don't need to remember any more names and stuff like this. So The expression builder is really small right now, so if you want to build something more complex than just a sum, you'll have to scroll or you'll have to see the expression bits by bits. And we want to improve this. We want to offer you some more real estate in order for you to just be able to write the expression much easier. So also coming with Git, it will be the way to see the differences between workflow versions. So you'll see what activities were added, what activities were removed, what properties was changed, and so on. So I think it will enable a much easier collaboration across the team. So in terms of execution, we are looking into offering multiple processes running on the same robot. So having a process in the foreground with UI and other processes in the background without UI. Also, going one step further from input-output parameters or job parameters, we plan to allow you to create a chaining of processes inside the studio. So you'll be able to, for example, you have a new employee and there is a big onboarding process. You can have a master onboarding process and that calls, for example, I don't know, create AD user. Then, I don't know, create a Salesforce account. And then just another process sending an email to the whole team that he will come in 2 weeks. So we want to allow you to do this in studio and running on the same machine, and while still being able to run them separately. In terms of extensibility, we are looking to exposing a robot API so that you'll be able to integrate the robot in your existing applications. So, for example, if you want to create a button in Excel or Outlook that would start a process, you'll be able to do this. Also, if you are really courageous, you can build your own tray from it. So, yeah. The next thing, it's the Studio plugins. So you'll have the ability to create your own plugins for Studio for your own needs. So if you want to have, I don't know, like the Git branches shown into the Studio, you will be able to do this. Or if you want to see the Jira tasks that you're working on, you'll be able to do this in Studio. And also, if you do this, please share it on the marketplace as well. So it may help others. So I think this is my favorite feature from this year. So it's a big comment center inside Studio that you reach it with just one key press, and you can do everything from there. You can create a new project, you can create a new workflow, you can, I don't know, add an activity, find an activity. So it's something like Spotlight, like Mac has for Spotlight, or even Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code have something like this. So here my colleague suggested that I should take a mouse and just throw it out, but in terms of capabilities, so we plan to add new activities around virtualization. So you'll be able to create or provision a new machine in Citrix and VMware, or stop it, or I don't know, just manage your machines by dragging and dropping activities. We plan also to add some activities around the Google Cloud Platform and Azure. So you will have the ability to, you'll have the ability to refresh a cache or to deploy an application also by just drag and dropping an activity. So WebDriver is now, I think, de facto standard for end-to-end testing for QA, and it has some advantages that we want to take advantage of it, and like I don't know, changing easily from Chrome to Firefox to Internet Explorer, or just running web automation in a headless browser. So that may work very good with the batch execution, so having it running in the background. And also we plan on adding some more capability into our PDF activities, something like split a file or extract one page or join two files. In terms of reliability, so right now we have just for click, we have 4 activities. So you have click OCR, click text, and click image. So you always have to think, okay, which one is the best for me? Which one works best? Which one should I use? So we plan to bring all of them together, and the robot will handle what activity should be used behind the scenes. So you'll just use click, and he will try first with selectors. If not, he will try with image, if not, or with OCR and so on. The workflow analyzer, so we know that developers love best practices, and you always want to check for best practices. So we want to bring an analyzer into the studios, like that will check for, I don't know, unused variables, or delays bigger than 30 seconds, or possible infinite loops. So we plan to add this into the studio, and it will check your workflows of, I don't know, mistakes or something like this. So, well, right now, when you create when the robot creates a new user, a new Windows session into a Citrix environment, it is created via RDP. And some companies are reluctant about this, and we plan to be able to create a Windows session in Citrix via the ICA protocol, ICA protocol. So, the next one I think is the biggest time saver of all. So updating the robot through Orchestrator will be a great improvement. If you have like 100 robots, you'll not have to go to each of them to upgrade it anymore. You'll be able to do this only through a click in Orchestrator. So moreover, when you run a process on a robot, you'll see that the robot has access to every application that the user has access to. And some people are reluctant around it, so we plan on offering you a way to whitelist just the apps you want the robot to have access to. So for example, you'll whitelist only Word and Excel, and if the robot tries to, or the process tries to access Outlook, it will crash. Then for the .NET references, so if you know like a good .NET library, or you want a new type, you cannot do it right now. You cannot import your own namespaces in Studio right now. So we plan on having exactly this, some way to offer you the ability to import the namespaces. In 2018.4, we added the capability of creating your own templates, your own brief framework, let's call it, and we want to go further with it and offer you the possibility to share it across your colleagues. So if you created a template that contains some best practices, some guidelines, and you can take this and share it with your colleagues, and the whole team will use the same thing. Then, when having a project that runs for a long time, there may be some legacy workflows or some legacy dependencies that are not used and no one knows about them. So we plan on having a button that will just remove all the unused dependencies. Oh, I didn't expect that. So there are times that the small things matter most. So I had a small collection of some tweaks. So we plan to offer you the possibility to use semantic versioning for projects. So we plan to switch from romantic versioning, as we call it, so the one we have it right now, to the semantic versioning. So also, if you are a bit of OCD like me, so you'd spend like 5 minutes every time you switch wheel. I don't know, modify something in a flowchart, you'll spend like 5 minutes just having all the lines straight and everything aligned. So, so having a button that will auto-arrange the flowchart, I think it will save a lot of time. Not like the update robot through Orchestrator, but kind of, yeah. Also, when renaming variables in UiPath, you rename it once and the name is changed everywhere. It's not the same for the arguments, and we plan to do exactly this. So when you rename an argument, it will change all the occurrences, so you'll not have to find them all by now. Yeah, I knew that the small stuff will get you. Yeah. So also we plan to offer a way to convert from variables to arguments and from arguments to variables. So, right now, when you create a new project and you mistype the title or you choose a bad title, you don't have a way to modify it. You have to go to a project JSON, you hack your way through it, and just modify it. We plan on adding exactly this in Studio, and it will be built in. You'll be able to change the name, description, and stuff like this. Also, in order to enable processes to be automated that contain, I don't know, AD, Active Directory manipulation or stuff like this, we plan to add a support in robot to run as an administrator. So it would run with exactly the same rights as the administrator would do. So I think that's it. And we from the product team, we love to hear feedback and your ideas and your negative thoughts even, and your problems. So please ping us at hello@uipath.com. It's a mail directly to the product team. Ping us there, and also me and my colleagues are around. So today, if you have any questions about the features, about the future of UiPath, about how to solve a problem, please ping us. I will be more than happy to hear that. Thank you very much.